This morning on Thursday, I'm talking to Hanshi Deena Naidu about the subject of ego. And Hanshi, I'd love to ask you a question about ego in general and the different facets of ego, if you'd like to explain to me, please.
Yes, most certainly. And what I will do is to take a caption out of my book, Speaking with God, and talk about this at length. Ego, a topic that many people speak about, are on this part of this evolutionary process that happens in life. So I put a question in this book, Speaking with God, about ego. I have not heard before anything as wonderful as this that makes so much sense to me. So the question was answered beautifully, and it goes like this. Ego is often misunderstood by many. What is ego really? It is the individual self that thinks it is separate from everything else. Everyone is born as an individual self. This means that they are individual souls with their own separate minds. Why has it been this way? Simply because it has to travel through three phases of self. Isn't that beautiful? It has to travel through three phases of self. So what are the three phases of self, I asked? One is universal self. Next is cosmic self. And three is divine self. In the universal self, it becomes the I. This I is body related as the little I am. So people say, I am a man, I am a woman, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I am this or that. This is body identification, gender identification, and human identification called ego. Ego is separation from source energy that all call God. So creation began through separation. Nothing is no thing. So everything became what it is from no thing or nothing in terms of physical identity. The spiritual identity in this nothingness of time, space, and distance became everything governed by time, space, and distance. So nothing is everything and everything is nothing. So when there is something, it is identifiable. When there is nothing, there is no thing. And there is this nothingness called the I am, which is everything. Wow. The I am is God, which is no thing and yet everything. So the human says, I am this, I am that. That is the ego speaking of itself in its tiny existence and speaks of itself by its experiences. Then when the physical I am realizes itself, the ego goes, and the true identity of the first real level begins, called the universal I am. This I am is the universal I am, which is beyond time. In this consciousness, no time exists. Past, present, and future is one. Then Then comes the next state called cosmic I am. In the existence of cosmic I am, space is no more. The cosmic form can be everywhere at once. The whole of the cosmos is one unit of existence. If there is one unit of identification, how can there be space? This is the second level of identification. Then there is the third I am called divine I am. The third I am is beyond distance. There is no furthest point or nearest point. Everything is now, here, and immediate. So this I am is God in three forms of collective consciousness. First form is universal, second form is cosmic, and third is divine. So when Jesus said, I am the way, Jesus was speaking of universal way directed by God. I am the truth is the cosmic consciousness, and I am the life is the divine consciousness. Then Jesus continues by saying, no one will get to the Father. This means none will get to supreme divine consciousness but by me, meaning the I am. This means only God's will prevails. Jesus was not talking about his body self of human identification. Jesus was not speaking from the mind self-identity. Jesus was referring to the divine self-identity that has a no-thing identity. So coming back to ego, it is when people only identify with the body, this is ego. Then also identity with the mind. The true identity is life, which is God, or divine identity. Jesus was not claiming the me as him, the person. This is limited ego. His profound message is much more deeper. But what he also does is to say that the messages received is from God. This is a divine discourse that was shared, which needs to be addressed. The name of the teacher who gave this discourse is kept secret at the moment, and this is the discourse. So long as we have a trace of ego in you, you cannot see the Lord clearly. That is the Triya curtain, which Saint Tyagaraja prayed to Lord Venkateswara to remove from his mind. Egoism will be destroyed if you constantly tell yourself, it is he, not I. He is the force. I am but the instrument. Keep his name always on the tongue. Contemplate his glory whenever you see or hear anything beautiful or grand. See in everyone the Lord himself moving in that form. Do not talk evil of others. See only good in them. Welcome every chance to help others, to console others, and to encourage others along the spiritual path. Be humble. Do not become proud of your wealth, status, authority, learning, or caste. Dedicate all your physical possessions, mental skills, and intellectual attainments to the service of the Lord and to the Lord's manifold manifestations. So this was a divine discourse on August 13, 1964. It goes on to say, ego is a bad quality for any devotee of God. Only through love, peace, humility, and courage can you overcome the ego. That was the end of the discourse. So continuing with the article, so the universal self must be the first level of attainment. So we need to shift our focus on an identity of I am rather than the literal I am. Once that happens, a new self emerges called the cosmic self, and finally the divine self. The way is through the process of evolution, through the universe, then into the cosmic realm, and finally settling into divinity. Now, in this part of the book, I also put down the summary. In the book, Speaking with God, this amazing chapter on the ego speaking about the universal consciousness, the cosmic consciousness and the divine consciousness that is beyond time, space, and distance, covers a lot of knowledge that may go over the heads of many, especially when it covers the I am and the three states of consciousness. Also the fact and about people looking down on others are also with egoistic ways. Not only the one who portrays himself as knowing it all without it identifying that the information is from divinity or the supreme presence. When people have a complex about themselves, their belief systems they belong to, or what, their ways of life being above others is also ego. The divine state never looks down or up at anyone, but views life as one energy. The cosmic state sees the connection as a unified state, and the universal state is about peeling away the ego.